Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between, welcome to another episode of The Twos, a part of the Hoops Crew Media Network, a Patreon subscriber exclusive part of the Hoops Crew Media Network. A big thank you to you. We've nearly hit that 30 subscribers mark. We're up to 27. Fingers crossed we get a trio of new patrons to jump on board before the end of the season so we can hit that target. Appreciate all of you being here and supporting the podcast. And today on the show, we're going to do a quick preview of Geelong's VFL men's semi-final. They are taking on the Southport Sharks in a do-or-die elimination game. So we're going to take a look at that. The last time these two sides played, the team that the Cats have selected, a couple of significant ins that we can talk about with ramifications for the AFL side, and then just a note on what I want to see. So let's get it started with the last time these two sides played. It was a lopsided encounter, really, back in round 7 of 2023. We haven't played the Sharks yet this year. It was the Sharks who got out to a big lead at the quarter time break. They put 5 goals, 4-34 to Geelong's 1-1-7 on the board. They kicked the first 3 goals of the second quarter to really open it up. To their credit, the Cats fought back. They kicked 4 of the last 5 goals, or the last 5, going in to halftime. They reduced that margin down to 5-2-32 to 8-5-33. Southport, though, this was sort of the way this game would go. They got the first 3 goals of the third quarter to Jesse Joyce, Fraser Thurlow, and Jake McQueen before the Cats got a trio of answers by the boots of Ted Closey, James Willis, and Oscar Riccardi. Again, Geelong just able to sort of, that margin would blow out, then the Cats would get it back. Final quarter, though, same sort of deal. It was the Sharks who put all the scores on the board early. In fact, they got the first 5 goals of the final term before the Cats tacked on a couple of late ones to salvage a little bit of pride and a little bit of percentage. But ultimately, the Southport Sharks running out 16-12, 108 to 10-4, 64 winners. Some decent signs from a very flawed Cats team in that game. They certainly showed at times that they could compete with a team like Southport, who were very good last year. Mainly James Willis, probably his best game of the year, 21 disposals, 6 clearances, 5 tackles, and 3 goals. Hamish Lucas, a decent game as well, 18 disposals. What else did he have? 11 tackles and 4 clearances. Brendan Parfitt, 21 touches, 5 clearances. But yeah, probably, as I said, the thing that stood out really from this game, James Willis's best game, and a flawed Geelong team able to occasionally match it with Southport, only to get brushed aside when the Sharks flexed their muscles. That leads us to talk there now about team selection. And the Cats have made a number of changes to the side this week. And a couple of them are significant ins, not just for the VFL side, but for the AFL men's side as well. So this game, it'll take place tomorrow. I'm recording this on Friday. So it'll be Saturday, 11:35 a.m. down at Kardinia Park. Get along, because we get to see Tom Hawkins and Cam Guthrie make their return to the hoops on the field down at KP. Possibly the last time. I mean, almost certainly the last time you'll see them down at Kardinia Park, unless if this side loses. If they win, I don't know what the setup is there. I assume we have to travel to the prelim, but this is a massive opportunity to see Tom Hawkins and Cam Guthrie play. Obviously, might not be Cam Guthrie's last game at KP, but Tommy Hawkins, we know he's retiring. So in come Tom Hawkins and Cam Guthrie, Darcy Edmonds and Tanner Lovell, O'Sheen Mullen up to the AFL. We saw him play a fantastic role on Jason Horne-Francis last night in the AFL men's crushing win in that qualifying final. We're going to recap all of that game for you on Sunday night on the Chaps, part of the Hoops Crew Media Network. Mark O'Connor is out injured. Kalen Bradkey and Cade Chalcraft are omitted. Unlucky for Kalen Bradkey, who's been really good in his first year at the Cattery, but he makes way for a future Hall of Fame type player in Tom Hawkins. So the Cats, they're rolling through with 17 AFL listed players in this lineup on the weekend. Let's talk a little bit. I'll run through the team lineup if you're an audio listener. So the backs are Ollie Wiltshire, Emerson Jecker, and Oscar Murdoch. The halfbacks, O'Sullivan, DeConing, and Nevitt. It's a very strong back six. The centre is George Stevens, Ted Closey, and Mitch Hardy. The half forward line, Phoenix Foster, Dan Caperon, and James Willis. The full forward line, talk about having some AFL level talent here. Gary Rowan, Tom Hawkins, and Jai Clark. And I remember saying last week on this pod, I've never seen Jai Clark play full forward. Doubt that'll happen. He actually did spend some time in that forward 50, kicked a couple of goals for the Cats in that loss to Werribee. Was not able to win a heap of the ball when he went on stoppage, but laid a bunch of tackles, kicked a couple of goals, looked pretty useful up there at times. The ruck situation is Joe Furphy, Brandon Parfitt, and Cam Guthrie. Again, talk about having AFL talent in the ruck division. They're here with Parfitt and Guthrie surrounding Furphy, and the interchange Edmonds, Lovell, Hughes, Herbert, and Antonak. And now we can transition over to talking about what I want to see. What does Jake want to see? I want to see a win, first and foremost. Let's keep the good times rolling. Big finals win last night to book a prelim. Let's book another prelim. That's what this is all about. If we win, we go through to the final four, which would be a massive achievement if you think about it. Where we were last year with the AFL men's team and the VFL men's team, both missing finals, but, showing some signs of development. Well, that development's really, coming to fruition before our eyes in 2024. Both sides, featuring in, as the Americans would say, post-season play. So that's really great to see, and I want to see a win to extend our season. Now, obviously, from the perspective that it means we're still a chance to win a flag in the VFL, but also because it means Tom Hawkins and Cam Guthrie get another game next week, presumably, to demonstrate their ability to win their spots back in the side. Now, just on that, what I would like to see this week is Geelong play a little smarter from the start. Against Werribee, we really got baited into playing exactly the way that Werribee wanted us to. They knew they wanted to force us to switch. They knew we liked to switch the ball around in the VFL. And we just kicked so many obvious, footy into danger, and it was turned over and they went back the other way. I think we've got to be a little bit smarter with that. Sometimes it's okay to go long down the line and try and create a stoppage on the wing, get someone to create a contest that puts the ball out of play, and then you've gained territory. You don't want to see that happen all the time, like only kick long, but when it's obvious that they're set up to guard and turn over on the switch, put it down the line. There is tall timber down there in players like Furphy, players like Phoenix Foster. So I think just be a bit smarter, Geelong, in this game. Another thing I want to see is I'm looking forward to seeing Mitch Hardy and how he goes in the midfield this week. I thought it was probably one of his weaker games of the season last week. Copped a bit of flack on Twitter for suggesting that game was somewhat validating of why he's yet to get picked ahead of Jai Clark, Brandon Parfitt, even Ted Closey in terms of getting AFL opportunities. But I stand by that. I think we saw that he wasn't up. He wasn't ready to shake that tag or shake the physicality at the contest inside. And when they got him in open spaces to use the uncontested ball, he operated pretty poorly. Now, that, again, as I said last week, it's a slice in time. Just because he had a poor week one final doesn't mean that is how he's going to play in finals all the time. Doesn't mean he can't learn from it. That was probably the highest intensity game of footy he's ever played in his career. So I want to see him improve. I like Mitch Hardy. I think people misinterpret, when I don't have a glowing evaluation of a player's, one game, that I'm a hater or something, that I'm being negative. Not so. I'm just trying to, I suppose, inform people who, there's a lot of people who don't have time to watch all the VFL games. I do. I make time to do that. And that's the point of this podcast, really, is to try and help you guys who are listening. If you don't get time to watch the game, get a little bit informed and be able to form an educated opinion on why guys are being picked or not being picked at the next level. So Mitch Hardy, I thought he had a poor game. I thought the stat line improved in quote unquote junk time. A lot of people will look at the fact that he led the Cats in disposals, but I don't think that's a fair gauge of how he played. He did not have a great game, but I want to see him have a good game this week. I like Mitch Hardy. I want to see him push to be selected. There's no reason he can't be, next year's Sean Manor. If he keeps working at his craft, and that's what Manor did. It's what Lawson Humphreys did. They keep working. They get better in the areas they need to. I would say Mitch Hardy's probably just had a bigger hill to climb, and he's trying to crack in a role that's hard to find a spot in this Cats team. So I'd love to see him. I want to see him have a bigger game on the weekend, and that probably starts with him, looking a little bit better in the contested situations and something that he can really control, because he can't really control his body type and size. So if the Sharks have a bunch of really physical, big bodies around the clearance, Mitch Hardy can't just stack on extra, pounds of muscle and explosiveness overnight, but he can control how he uses the footy in uncontested situations. So I'd like to see an improvement there. And then just the other couple of things I'll pick out is I would like to see a bigger game from James Willis. Again, we talk about, players, obviously you're competing to try and win a VFL flag, but you're also trying to compete to stay on this Geelong list next year. There's plenty of players on this VFL list who are out of contract at the end of this year. And so they are trying to earn an extension and an opportunity to keep proving their worth at Kardinia Park. So I would like to see James Willis have more of an impact in this match. I thought he just looked a little bit off the pace last weekend. And finally, I want to see Tom Hawkins and Cam Guthrie get through healthy. I personally am skeptical that Tom Hawkins will get back into the AFL men's side. I thought Shannon Neal looked fantastic. To me, it's not amount of goals kicked for Hawkins. It's how he moves, how he gets around the ground. He's going to need, if I was a selector, which obviously I'm not, I would need to see a Tom Hawkins looking like, he needed half a season off to rejuvenate and get some juice back in the legs. Because I think, honestly, he looked like he had lead in the boots quite a bit in the first half of the year. It's how he moves and gets around that I'm looking to see, not so much how many goals he kicks. He could maybe kick a couple of goals, but if he's moving freely and leading well and getting around the ground, then that's the first little cautious tick about could he earn his way back or be ready to play if, someone gets injured ahead of him and he has to get back in. But I think it's going to be really hard to work your way back into that side, for a prelim. Likewise, Cam Guthrie. I think if the Cats had lost last night and you're facing an elimination final next week, maybe you do pull a lever on a Tom Hawkins or a Cam Guthrie. The Cats have the luxury. They don't have to. Everyone played a brilliant game last night. And so now the Cats can just wait and see what these players do. So main thing is health. Obviously Tommy Hawkins, you want to see him get through healthy. But more so Cam Guthrie, because he, is a player that I would love to see get back to his best at the Cats. I still think he can be a valuable AFL player, and he's just had an absolute nightmarish run with injury. So they're all the things I sort of want to see. Hopefully you get down to the game or get to watch the game. I'll be watching on TV and I'll get a recap to you. But that's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for subscribing. Really appreciate it. I'll get out of your hair. Thanks so much, guys. And until next time, go the mighty Cats.